session for today's International Mud Day. I'm honored to have with me Mr. Sameer Majli, who is an environmentalist, educationist, counselor, and founder of Green Saviours. Mr. Majli is engaged in tree plantation, forest making, maintenance, and restoring degraded landscapes for 220 consecutive Sundays since 2016. An unsatiable passion for conservation of nature, especially focus on preserving and created spaces of biodiversity for sustenance of the planet. And he's strongly carrying out the Green Saviours mission in Belgavi. So, Mr. Sameer, welcome to our show, and we are honored to have you with us.
Thank you for having me on.
So, Mr. Sameer, through this session, we look forward to understanding how adults and children can connect with nature during the lockdown times.
Okay. We've all been through the lockdown and it's not been a pleasant experience, although it is necessary. And we have tried different ways of spending time because we discovered some old hobbies that we had lost somewhere. And to a great extent, we discovered the spaces that are around our house, something that we had forgotten to really look at. And from the personal side of it, I can tell you that I have never ever had such a close look at my own garden, because once the garden comes up, you sort of take it for granted. The flowers are just supposed to be there. We never see the small changes that happen, the little leaves that sprout, the new seedlings that happen, or some birds that come in and drop a few seeds that can bring out a few seedlings. We don't really notice that. But for 2 months, during the total lockdown, I guess everybody was very observant about what is happening in and around their house. So that little green savior within each one sort of established a connect. I remember a lot of people from our team at least, they have been keenly observing how small seedlings come up in their garden. Once the seedlings are up, let's say about 6 inches or a foot tall, they have shifted them into small bags. And they have kept themselves busy and in touch with Mother Nature even through the lockdown. And it was practically not feasible for us to really go out and do the work that we normally do. But I guess if you have a house that has a compound and a fence and you still have some open soil around, which is a very rare thing to find. Everybody is so busy plastering and pavering all spaces that there is hardly any soil left. If you observe large bungalows, small bungalows, everybody wants to make sure that there is no exposed soil, because then a few plants come up and then you have to maintain them. So in the midst of all this, if you have really had a good compound and you have been observant, I guess you have been in touch with Mother Nature, and that's a wonderful way to spend not just the lockdown, but life per se.
Mr. Sameer, this is the third consecutive year that Indus Altum Early Learning Center has been celebrating International Mud Day. Okay. And today, because of the lockdown and because of the pandemic, we have to do a virtual event. And we are actually missing out the physical sense of, being with everyone and playing in the mud and with mud. So do you think nature should be introduced to children right from an early age?
I think nature should accompany children through their education. It's a very important element that somehow has been sidelined. I understand that craft and art and everything else is important, but I think what's more important is the connect with nature. It's the connect with nature that really allows children to explore and look at things, observe things that might sound okay and too perfect in a textbook, but once you go out there and you really observe stuff, that's when you create vivid visual images of everything that is maybe there in your textbook. There would be some rule or some law in physics that would come in later. But if you have been around with nature, you see those laws in practice. I mean, you see all that happening around you. And I think that is the connect which is important and which is missing. So if we are able to have nature as a companion in different forms for every child, I mean, right through the school education, we will be able to we will be able to instill a definite sense of responsibility. Also, we will be able to help the child establish a connect between a lot of things that are taught in the textbook and a lot of things that happen in nature. So I think it should be it should accompany education all through. And this also makes people more sensitive to certain issues that we often ignore. And that is why I think children learn responsibility, they learn discipline, they learn observation skills. I mean, we all talk of employees who have excellent observation skills, be it in any corporate entity. We talk of we love employees who have good observation skills. I mean, they are the ones who really go out and become the manager. But then, if we are going to keep people in physical confinement of classrooms and never really get them to observe the vivid kind of things that nature has to offer, I think we are sort of compromising on the real observation skills. And like they say, I mean, you observe a tribal or you see a villager, he or she is far more sensitive to everything that happens around. Their sense of smell is extremely well developed. Their sense of sight is well developed. Their understanding of the weather is fantastic. The way they understand the soil, the flora and the fauna is beautiful. It's primarily because they have been constantly exposed to these biodiverse ecosystems. And unless this exposure is there, I don't see completeness in learning happening.
I would completely agree with you, Mr. Samir, on this. And I would be happy to share with you that, yes, all these years we did include nature in our education, but this year we are going to do it very, very consciously, because even we have realized that connecting children with nature will help them in a lot of ways, including developing their brain. So as you mentioned, yes, it enhances their sense of smell and their sense of touch, and they do become very empathetic also. Yeah. So we are trying to make our classroom as the green classroom, I would say. Okay. And also this morning, along with the kids, we launched a club called the Nature Club. And I'd like to understand that, would you like to include our little ones in your Green Saviours and collaborate with us?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, as far as tree plantation and restoration of landscapes is concerned, there is no age limit. I mean, in the Green Saviours team, we have children who are, I would say, around 2.5, 3 years old, and we have adults who are 75. So wow. That's the entire spectrum of Green Saviours that you will find there. So you'll see the little ones running around and the seniors looking at them anxiously. Everybody comes and does his or her little bit. I mean, I've had a kid who barely can carry a small spade, but still, tries it out to, dig into the soil and get his hands dirty. There was a watering can that this little fellow was carrying, and he wanted to do it all on his own. That much involvement comes in when these kids come in, and their presence is in a sense inspirational.
Yes.
It inspires us because there are two things. One, they are part of the responsibility, okay? And they also remind us of our responsibility that we have to take better care of the planet than we have been doing for quite some time, because otherwise these little kids, when they grow up, are going to have a very tough time. So in Green Saviours, we normally insist, request rather, that people come in as a family. The little ones, the middle-aged ones, the seniors, everybody comes in, because it's a wonderful time to connect. Not just with nature, but also with each other.
With each other, yes.
Yeah. And we have people from diverse domains coming in. I mean, there are students, there are housewives, there are professionals, working professionals, entrepreneurs, government officials. I mean, you name them, we have them there. So it's a very, wide range of people that you get your exposure to. So it's important that kids get involved with this, because socializing, apart from the social media, is largely threatened nowadays. I mean, we are so busy with likes and other emoticons that are shared around, that we have forgotten what the touch of the hand feels like. So
Yeah.
the Green Saviours drive is a great time to, really enjoy the smiles and share the joy, experience the whole thing together.
Oh, that's amazing. So, yes, we would like to partner with you, Mr. Samir, and the Green Saviors and the Indus Altum Nature Club. And you can also be an advisory for the Nature Club, where you can tell us how do we go forward, understanding what is the philosophy behind we having this Nature Club, and also involving us collaboratively. We could do some events and some activities together, and we are connecting perfectly with nature then.
Yeah, if you can bring in something that establishes a consistent connect with nature, it would be a
Yes.
very interesting thing. And the one thing that you could really do is, yes, obviously you will get your children involved, but the one thing that is very important is to get the parents involved.
Yes.
You know
We
that that is
very
that is a
strongly
very
believe in
important.
parent partnership also.
Yeah.
And in all our events, we have parents as our partners.
Yeah, that's a very important part of running a nature club, because it shouldn't just become an activity that we do.
No.
For example, a lot of people ask us, do you celebrate Environment Day, and do you celebrate Environment Week, and maybe an Environment Month, or whatever? We really don't have any special celebration for any Environment Day, because we have been doing it every Sunday for the past 4 years. So every day is Environment Day. Unless we can,
Yeah.
really look at it like that, the future would be really tough.
So, Mr. Samir, I would also like to understand. You said the Green Saviors group is a mixed age group,
Yeah,
right? From a 2.5-year-old
yeah.
to a 70-year-old person. So, what is the difference? How do you find people connecting with nature?
Uh, Everybody connects at their own levels. I think the kids come there for the joy of it. Obviously, it's too early for them to understand the responsibility of it, but they come there for the joy of it. The college students are coming in large numbers, which is a very encouraging factor, because the generation that is going to take up the responsibility immediately, if they are becoming sensitive, then these are very positive signs. As a matter of fact, just yesterday I read that you know one of the in this petition to save the forests in the Supreme Court was being led by a youngster,
Yes.
rather than the regular activist. So
Yeah.
those are positive signs. The middle-aged people again come there for reconnect and uh, spend some good family time on Sundays. There are a lot of new relationships that are formed. The adults, they come over because again it gives them a chance to be with people of different ages and a different kind of fun. I mean, there are a lot of elements that we miss out in routine life that you get on a Green Saviors drive. For example, when was the last time you really got wet in the rain? I mean, not just you. It's a question that we can ask everybody. When was it that you got
Mm.
wet in the rain? And by wet, I mean in a downpour, and there were mud puddles all around, and you played around in them. You got completely dirty, dirtier than you ever got when you were in school. And now there is nobody to scold you, so you went around for as long as you could. Uh, Sometimes there are sites where there isn't any water to clean ourselves, so we eat with whatever soiled hands are there. So I guess it has worked wonders for the overall immune systems of people. Being with nature is known to enhance the immunity of people in any case. So one walk in a forest is definitely worth much more than anything else in a city. So when was it the last time that you really experienced nature in all its glory? I think that is what everybody comes for, and I think what uh, parents come for. There are a lot of parents who come there to see their children enjoy that, playing about in the mud, getting hands dirty, because in the city though it's almost like forbidden. We have defined this is dirty, that is not dirty. In nature there is a very different definition of dirt and no dirt. So I
Yeah.
think people come there to learn this entire thing, this whole connect. and it's fun. I mean, everybody ultimately comes there for the sheer joy of it, which is irreplaceable.
I'm sure. In fact, my next question to you was based on what you just mentioned about building immunity in children. So, a lot of the adults are very apprehensive that children should not get their hands into mud, or just not, touch any of the trees or play in the grass, or just get the feel of the flowers. So, what do you have to say to that?
There are a lot of issues that come in here. Our overall resistance, I'm not an expert on this, so I'll just talk according to what I know. I believe our overall immunity has gone down because we have almost sanitized everything and anything. So our overall immunity has gone down. And it is time to build it up step by step. I'm not saying you bring your child in, let the child start eating with muddy hands, but a little bit of soil here and there won't really harm the child. And over a period in time, slowly resistance will build. It has been proven, I guess, that over sanitation is dangerous because the overall resistance, you go outside, you eat something that's a little out of the way, and your stomach has gone for a toss. A little bit of change in weather, and you start developing a cold or a cough, is not something that used to happen earlier. Little kids, when we were in school, we used to get drenched like, I mean, you cannot imagine the kids nowadays getting that drenched because there weren't any cars, public transport around. We used to walk to our houses, we used to ride around on bicycles. And because of this exposure to all the elements, I guess the immunity levels were much higher compared to what immunity levels we have even today. I think even us adults have successfully over a period in time reduced our immunity levels because we are starting to get more and more sanitized. And then this whole corona thing has come in now. It's sanitation crazy. I was just before this corona thing, I used to talk to my daughter, and I used to feel that she's a little bit over obsessed with the sanitizer thing till corona said that sanitizers are necessary. But by and large, if you go to see, over sanitation is a dangerous thing. There's another thing that I would like to draw attention to in order to highlight the importance of the activity that we are trying to do in and around Belgaum. While we are trying to go in for infrastructural development, we cannot forget that we need to understand that we are only cohabiting the planet. We don't own the planet. It is not our property. We might have documents to prove what is ours, but I personally believe that none of it is ours. We are only sharing it. We are only sharing spaces with the other species on the planet. And if we go on destroying these species, then these animals have nowhere to go but to come closer to human habitat. And once this kind of a coexistence starts happening, then the likelihood of corona and something beyond corona is extremely high. And we are really not understanding it. I mean, even in the city nowadays, when people see bats, they are scared. The poor bat has been blamed for every virus. But you have to understand that the bat has been living with these hundreds of viruses for thousands of years. Okay, so it is just that because the forest spaces were respected and kept intact, the bats found their place there. Now the bats don't have anywhere else to go, so they will come to somewhere which is closer to your house. And once the ecosystems, the natural habitats overlap, the chances of diseases spilling over are extremely high, is something that people should understand. So it is important to give these species their own rightful places. I mean, you have a nice thick forest that you create, okay, and you have a wonderful home that is there for snakes. Trust me, they won't come to your house. No animal is interested in approaching humans. Their experience with the human species over the ages has not really been pleasant. So it's important that we create these biodiversity hotspots in and around the city. That's something that we have been trying to highlight because we need to understand that we are only cohabiting the planet. And the Green Saviours journey is all about understanding this and identifying with this because this is a very important philosophy to inculcate, especially in terms of the future. Are we there? Hello.
Yes, Mr. Sami. Sorry, I lost my internet connection.
No, I thought so. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Sami, I also read in your profile that you are into tree plantation and forest making. So, what is this forest making?
See, normally in the human definition, trees are supposed to be planted far away from each other if they have to survive and thrive. But most of these definitions are productivity based. When we started planting somewhere back in 2016, uh, after having planted for about 6 to 7 months, we discovered that we have only touched 1,000 trees. And although it seemed like an achievement, I mean, the number seems interesting. Although it seemed like an achievement, it was never going to get us closer to what we really have in mind. So we shifted over to something called as forest making. Now, everybody says that trees should be planted at a distance of about minimum 8 feet away from each other. Now, when you talk of a tree, you imagine a trunk and you imagine a nice canopy on top of it. That is the human definition of a tree. Okay, the natural definition of a tree is far different. You can go to a forest and check out what the natural definition of a tree is. It's a clump of trees that are growing together. They are quite close to each other, often just about 2.5, 3 feet, maximum 4 feet from each other, and they are growing in perfect harmony. And what they do is they compete for light. They start growing taller. They create and find their own spaces, and they have a common canopy at the top, where every tree is just making space for every tree is trying to accommodate everybody. So we sort of in January 2017 we said enough of planting at distances because it was making maintenance also difficult. So now what we do is we explored the Japanese Miyawaki method. We worked on that for some time. We still do work on the Miyawaki method at times. There are a couple of cases, or maybe even more, where we have modified the method to really scale down the cost. And now we plant trees at a distance of about 3 feet from each other. All of them grow collectively, beautifully together. The maintenance is extremely easy. You have to maintain them for 2 years and then you have a self-sustaining forest. And what happens is each tree, and because we plant diverse species, it's not sufficient to really conduct an afforestation drive. It's also important to understand what you plant there. And the more diverse the plot that you plant, the better the growth is, the better the health of the trees is. In a forest, you will never see a diseased tree.
Yeah.
Just walk around a forest, you won't see a diseased tree. Walk around any human plantation, you'll see trees with diseases. In a forest, you really don't see trees with diseases because every species is protecting the other species from certain danger. So whenever there's a particular kind of infection, it has been proven that there is an underground network which is far beyond our understanding, through which trees communicate. They supply ingredients to each other, even to species that are not their own. So I remember one of our plots, we had a particular variety of tree which was diseased. It had got powdery mildew and it was all white patches on the leaves. We were skeptical. We just planted it in the Miyawaki plot that we were doing. Within 15 days, the patches were gone. We had not sprayed a single bit of insecticide, no pesticide, nothing. In 15 days, the patches are gone, the trees are healthy. Once the roots are established, they begin to take care of each other. So this dense method of plantation is a very interesting development for us because we sort of plant around 1,000 trees in about 4,500 square feet of land.
Okay.
So that's the density to which we plant in a city like Belgaum. And it really grows very fast. I mean, you have the trees growing to heights of around 10 feet in about 1.5 years. There are some species that have really shot up to 15, 20 in one year. And it becomes a self-sustaining ploy. It's a beautiful thing. You need to visit our forests once. Let me know when you have time.
Certainly.
With a few faculty members, I would love to explain stuff out there.
Thank you.
Human beings like to put distance between everything.
Yeah.
That is not true in nature. Human beings like to segregate. Nature doesn't do that.
Nature doesn't. So yes, certainly, why only faculty? I think even with our children, we would love to visit one of the forests.
Yeah.
And we'll just wait a little bit for the pandemic and the COVID situation to settle down, and then we would be there. So, Mr. Sameer, it was a very insightful conversation with you, and thank you very much for being with us. And we'll really love to collaborate with Green Saviours and the Nature Club at our school, and we'll take it forward over there. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to interact, and thank you for expressing the desire to associate, because we are looking forward to meaningful associations with not just institutions, but individuals from all walks of life in Belgaum, so that we can restore it to its old climatic glory. Even today, I would like to add, even today, the clouds are hovering around. There is no rain.
No rain.
It's just because the vegetation has become so sparse that sufficient cloud seeding is not happening. This was not Belgaum in the 80s. In 30 years, this change has come in. Together, we can reverse it back. It's a belief that, with which we started the Green Saviours. So thank you very much, and do keep in touch, and do keep getting people involved in this little mission of ours.
You have all the children of Indus Altum Early Learning Center and the parents and the faculty with Green Saviours, and we will really do something very concrete and make sure that our children definitely get connected with nature.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
For having us here.
Thank you.